Well, hi, friends. Here's a question for us to consider today. How is love greater than faith and hope? 1 Corinthians 13 says this in verse 13, and now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these, greater than faith and hope, is love. What does that actually mean? This last Sunday, we covered what is known as the love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13 in my message. And if you missed that, you can go back and pay attention to that. And we talked about the supremacy, the value of love that 1 Corinthians 13 puts forth for us, that greater than any spiritual gift, greater than any faith commitment that a person could have with God is love. And then at the end, the Apostle Paul goes in to talk about how faith and hope, along with love, are also greater than spiritual gifts. Those things, spiritual gifts, are just temporary, but faith, hope, and love will remain. But then, as I just read, love is even greater than faith and hope. So what exactly does that mean? How is love greater than faith and hope? 1 Corinthians 13 doesn't exactly answer that question for us, but here's just some initial thoughts that I've been thinking about, and maybe it'd be helpful to you. For one, of faith, hope, and love. Faith and hope are entirely dependent upon love for their existence, if you think about it. For instance, faith. Faith without love would just be this loveless, meaningless, dead exercise. It's just a religious exercise. And Paul had already said, if I have faith that can move a mountain, but I don't have love, then that is of no value at all. He had already said that earlier in 1 Corinthians 13. So faith depends upon love. And what about hope? Well, hope without love is an oxymoron. It just wouldn't make any sense. Earlier in the chapter, Paul said, love always hopes. Faith and hope, as important as they are, depend upon love for their existence. Another possible reason why love is said that it's greater than faith and hope is that of those three wonderful virtues, love is the one thing that we will take with us into eternity. Faith and hope, you think about it, in eternity really have no purpose because our faith in heaven will be made sight. And when it comes to hope, hope is going to be completely fulfilled. And so those two things, again, as important as they are, pale in comparison to the greatness of love. Love is what will continue on into eternity. And on top of that, when you think about who God is, God has no need for faith. God has no need for hope. But not only does God love, but God is love. And so that will continue on into eternity. It doesn't say that God sent his son into the world because he had great faith in the world, or he had great belief in the world, or because God had hope in this world. No, God sent his son in love. And so God is love. These are just some possible reasons as to why Paul here says that love is greater than faith and hope. All three are super important. But I hope that this encourages you to just continue to reflect on not only the value of love, but the virtues of love that we see in 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient and kind and does not keep a record of wrongs, and all those things that we looked at in my sermon this past Sunday. Read back through that and think not only in terms of, am I this kind of a person, but also how does God provide this measure of love for me? And then also just lastly, thinking about the victory of love, as we talked about in my sermon, about how Jesus fulfilled love, the greatest act of love of all, in coming, giving his life for us. What a special message, an important message for us this Christmas season. I hope that this encourages you, that God is love, and that God's love has come near to us in the form of Jesus. And we're so thankful for that. That is the meaning of life, and it gives us hope for this year and for years to come. Thanks for joining us today.